Manchester United have increased their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike, who has an €80 million asking price. United are keeping a close eye on Porto striker Samu Aghehowa. Christopher Favell is influencing United to enter the race for an Argentine Wonderkid. Chris Rigg is top of the transfer list. Romano confirms Amad Diallo's return is close. And a new contract for one of our new young stars. All this plus more in today's video to run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with all the transfer noise. Can't go anywhere at the moment without links with strikers. Obviously, it is one of the priority positions, according to multiple reports, that United are going to be interested in a striker in the summer. So let's go through the Ekitike news. So a source close to Carrington has confirmed an increased interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Now, that came from Sean Connolly, who is a decent source when it comes to United information. And then Florian Plettenberg, who's very good when it comes to German clubs and transfer kind of news, said that Eintracht Frankfurt are aware that Manchester United are seriously considering Hugo Ekitike as a potential transfer target for the summer. Arsenal, Liverpool and Juventus have also registered their interest. Eintracht firmly expect his departure. They are demanding a £67 million fee, which is €80 million. Obviously, it's expensive, but strikers are going to be expensive. That's more than what we would than Victor Osimhen's release clause. But I think the Osimhen deal is more to do with the wages that he wants rather than necessarily the asking price or the release clause for Osimhen. £67 million. I mean, if that's their starting point, their asking price, you could potentially negotiate that down. But then if there's interest from Arsenal, Liverpool, and Juventus, where does that put United in? Apparently, I saw an interview online where he was asked who were his favourite clubs in the past, and he said Man United. So whether there's some kind of, whether he's a United fan, I have no idea, but that was kind of definitely said in the interview by the player. What are we thinking? Give us your thoughts in the comments. Ekitike, having a really, really good season for Eintracht Frankfurt. Not bad statistically as well. Pretty much, in the top 80 to 90% for most metrics as a striker this season, which is, super impressive. 22 years old. He's a talented player. My only worry would be, the unproven element and the fact that he is still young and kind of relatively unproven so far for his age. But then I was looking into it and I looked at his kind of previous scoring. So this season, 54 appearances. For Frankfurt, 54 appearances, 23 goals, 23 goals, 10 assists in total. PSG, 33 appearances, only 4 goals and 4 assists. But even before that, though, he was still scoring goals, and that was when he would have been around 18 years old as well. 28 appearances, 11 goals and 3 assists, so 14 goals contributions in 28 games, which is a goal or assist every other game at 18-year-old in the French league, which is why Paris bought him. It obviously didn't work for him at PSG, but whether they were misprofiling him, and that doesn't always necessarily mean that they're a bad player. It just means that they were potentially at the wrong club. And then he's gone on and obviously done really well for Frankfurt as well. But, it was on the name of players and strikers that we were kind of linked with before. Obviously we had the news yesterday from Ornstein saying United are going to go for more younger players. And he didn't necessarily rule out Gyökeres and Osimhen, but he said, look, they're unlikely, though he did say, don't quote me on that because you'll never know in football. But Ekitike could be another one. I think brilliant profile of striker. Apparently we've been linked with him before as well. The reports were we were interested in him, for a while now. So this could be one that the scouts have kind of scouted and recommended, and maybe they're going to kind of go down that route as well. But we need to keep an eye on it for you. But give us your thoughts below about Ekitike. Do you think he'd be the right option for United to bring in as a striker, or would you have some concerns with him? Give us a shout. Give us a shout below. Now, another striker we've been linked with is Samu Aghehowa. So Manchester United are keeping a close eye on Porto striker Samu Aghehowa ahead of the summer transfer window. He has contributed to 20 goals and 3 assists in all competitions so far. Now, that came from Ekron Connie. He's a name that we've been linked with a few times. Samu, I do think he might be another another player of interest, although that interest is kind of, the noise around him has gone quiet a little bit recently. Again, would be another interesting profile of player to bring in. He's only young, 20 years old, I think, having an outstanding season. 34 appearances, 20 goals, 3 assists for Porto, but is more of a kind of penalty box area when you look at his stats compared to, Ekitike's that I just shared on the screen. You can see the kind of different types of profile of players that they are. Obviously, they play in different leagues, and they're, Ekitike is a couple of years older as well. I thought Samu was outstanding against us in the Europa League this season as well. Real kind of handful for us when we played against them. Obviously scored a couple of goals as well, didn't he? So he's a player that would be an interesting profile, but feels a little bit more like a penalty box kind of striker. Which isn't a bad thing. Isn't a bad thing at all for what we're kind of looking for. But yeah, 2 really interesting options. The only problem with that, though, came from Ekram Connor. Ekram Connor's probably linked us with 1 million players in the last few weeks as well, and I'm still yet to be convinced by the credibility, as will be proven by some of the other stories that we go through in a second. So I would say take that one with a pinch of salt, but I do think Samu Aghehowa is potentially one that we might be interested in, because I have been linked with him before in the past by more credible people than Ekram Connor. But give us your shout, give us your thoughts on that down below. Now, Graham Bailey has said that Manchester United have been informed that Victor Osimhen would be willing to join them without Champions League football. That would be interesting as well. Obviously, his price would be less than Ekitike. The problem with Osimhen is his pay and his salary. He might want to come to United even without Champions League football. That's great, but we're not going to pay him 350 grand a week, I don't think. We're trying to reduce the wage bill to make it more sensible and more manageable so that we have more freedom to sell players if they're not particularly good, because at the moment we struggle to sell players because of the contracts they're on, because no other teams are paying those sort of wages as well. And I think that's what they want to kind of come away from. So yeah, still would, he's not exactly going to be not very well paid. Osimhen, if he came to United, he'd still be earning a pretty decent wage, but it would be manageable so that if, I don't know, in a couple of years' time you do want to sell him, for example, it's not the hardest thing to do because they're not on absolutely crazy wages is what I kind of think. But again, Graham Bailey, a little bit hit and miss. So but we are going to keep getting linked with strikers, specifically Osimhen as well. And maybe there is something in that. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, Ekram Connor, who I just mentioned before, said that Manchester United are in talks with Napoli over a potential swap transfer involving Victor Osimhen and Rasmus Højlund ahead of the summer, and that's why I'm still yet to be convinced by Ekram Connor. He does have a very, very large following, though, and works for a lot of different media outlets and news outlets and stuff, and is reposted all of the time as well. But, swap deals don't happen in football. I don't think it would benefit us neither as well. So, more reports regarding a potential swap with Osimhen and Rasmus. It wouldn't be a swap. We would buy Osimhen, and then they in turn would buy Højlund. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Sean Connolly, though, who is fairly decent for United news, saying that Manchester United will not be looking to offload Rasmus Højlund this summer. This is due to his age, his potential, and the ability he has when he is confident. And that's an important point, actually, as well. Confidence can be key sometimes, especially with young players. And obviously, Rasmus has had an absolutely terrible season. Let's see if he can pick up, though, because he scored a goal in the international break, obviously scored beforehand as well. Whether he can kind of, go on a bit of a run now and kind of, do something between now and the end of the season that he hasn't been doing all season, and then obviously assess it in the summer. But according to Sean Connolly, not looking to offload Højlund this summer. So we do bring a striker. Højlund, I agree with that. Either keeping Højlund around as a backup. I don't think he should be our starting striker next season. Too young, too inexperienced, not really a proven goal scorer neither as well. Could develop into that though as well, because there is potential in Højlund. So I kind of like that idea of dropping him down to like a second choice or a rotation option along with Chidu, Obi, for example, and then see how he gets on, see if he can develop as well. Plus, with the pre-season under Amram as well, you never know. So, according to that, Højlund not going anywhere, which again contradicts the story beforehand about a swap deal with Osimhen and Højlund. Now, another player we've been linked with a lot is Roger Fernandes. So, Braga's Roger Fernandes has gained massive interest from Manchester United and Ruben Amram himself. The new Ineos transfer strategy is specifically how youth players who are young but raw can do a job. So again, this kind of Sean Connolly's been leaked, and the report with David Ornstein actually yesterday as well, saying United are going to go for a lot more younger, up and coming kind of profile of players. But give us your thoughts. Obviously, Roger Fernandez is a player that we've been heavily linked with. We'll have to see how it kind of develops, but give us your thoughts on that below. Another young player that fits the bill of what we might be looking for is Chris Rigg. So Manchester United play Sunderland Wonderkid Chris Rigg near the top of their list of transfer targets for this summer, and they are already working hard to secure his signature for the summer. Now that came from Give Me Sports. Again, Chris Rigg's name being mentioned with us. Not really anything new to add to that, though, as well. Chris Rigg, I think, is a player of interest. Whether we would get him or not, we don't know. Might depend on Sunderland, whether their promotion or other teams coming in for him as well. But he is a player that we're definitely scout. We're definitely interested in Rigg, but whether we'll get him or not, we'll have to wait and see. Manchester United have entered the race for Argentine wonderkid Ian Subiabre. That's how I think it's pronounced. Apologies if I've mispronounced it. Over 13 clubs across Europe are in hot pursuit for him, with Chelsea leading. Obviously, it's understood to be highly influenced by Vivell and the scouting department. Now that came from Sully Talks, who's been really decent recently with behind the stuff at Man United, injury news, and all this kind of stuff. So I do think his kind of maybe got a connection somewhere along the lines at Manchester United. 18-year-old left-footed winger. Of course, Chelsea would be interested in him after just buying Giovanni Kenda, who is exactly a very similar profile to this young lad. Described as being a very talented prospect. The new gem of River Plate is the word being banded around, doing some research and stuff. I know very little about the player, watched his highlights and, did a little bit of research before doing this video, because this news literally just broke about 10 minutes ago before I was recording this video. So I've not had too much time to do too much, but I wanted to bring it to you because that's the sort of deal that I'm all over. I'm all over these sort of deals. Ticks all the boxes of what we're being told United are looking for: young, up-and-coming, developmental players, relatively unknown, well-scouted, well thought out. As it says there, Christopher Vivell, massively involved. And these, I think, let's have more of these kind of players being linked. Whether we'll get them or not, obviously there's clear interest. And, Chelsea will probably offer him an 8-year contract and all sorts, and just sign him and hoard him with all the other wingers, and that they're kind of... I don't even know who's at Chelsea anymore. I just assume if they're not at Man United, they're signing for Chelsea. That's how many players they've been signing recently. I genuinely have no clue who they've kind of bought and who they haven't bought. I just think it's absolute madness. But that could be one that, Chelsea do just buy and give him an 8-year contract and just see how he kind of gets on as well. But, would be a very interesting profile of player. Would be one that would play like as a right 10. By all accounts, he's like a winger. Some of the research, they were likening him to Bernardo Silva at City, like that type of profile of player, if you wanted a bit of a kind of comparison. But go check him out, or if you know much about the lad, let me know. But I like those sort of deals. This is where I think United are going to go down getting these. Obviously, we do need to add, in my opinion, a bit of a mix of experience, and we can't just be having a full squad of 18-year-old wonder kids from across the globe. We need to be sensible. I think we will still add players, like a Mazraoui, a De Ligt, if they're available and they're the right price and they're the right kind of transfer fee and stuff. But then if you start getting more and more of these as well, then yeah, I'd be all over it. I'd be happy with this deal. But I'll keep an eye on it for you. Really interesting profile of player though. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then Manchester United, the other position we're looking to maybe strengthen is the goalkeeper. So Manchester United, Arsenal, PSG, Bayern Leverkusen, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are all interested in Espanyol keeper Joan Garcia. That came from AS, very good Spanish source, linking, Garcia. I know some of you have mentioned him in the comments in previous videos as well. Is meant to be a really, really talented goalkeeper. Again, not one that I don't really watch too many goalkeepers. It's not something I would sit and kind of watch, highlight reels of goalkeepers. So, my knowledge on him very, very limited, but the research I have done, he is very, very highly regarded. Would tick all the boxes of what we're potentially looking for, but with that sort of competition, maybe a bit expensive. Yeah, because I don't think we're looking to spend too much on a goalkeeper if we do get a goalkeeper. Remember, with the goalkeeper situation, a lot of it depends on, like Onana's happy to stay. There might be interest from the Saudi Pro League, but Onana's happy to stay unless he's told he's surplus to requirements. And I think then we would maybe make a move for a goalkeeper, but it depends on the price. I don't think we've got a massive amount of transfer budget to spend on a goalkeeper, but if we could get one for a reasonable fee, then that might be plausible. But give us your thoughts on that below. Now, Kobe Mainoo is doing individual training back on grass, but not training with the team at the moment. So Kobe Mainoo is close to being back, but not quite in training yet. Luke Shaw, Lenny Yoro, and Harry Maguire were all back in training today. That was yesterday. So that's good. It's a bit of an injury boost. For those, let's see how long Luke Shaw lasts before he's injured again. But Fabrizio Romano has said that Ahmed is ahead of schedule in his recovery and has a good chance of playing again before the end of the season around May. So the kind of feeling is with Amad Diallo is that potentially he might be back in training by the end of this month or in the next couple of weeks. And then obviously it'll take a couple of weeks to maybe get back and train and make sure he doesn't have a reoccurrence of his injury and take the time with him. Believed to potentially be back at the beginning of May, which might be if we get through to the Europa League semi-final, and that kind of kicks off as well. So that will be a big boost. To have Amad Diallo, we're getting ahead of ourselves, though. We obviously need to beat. We need to get through the next round next, but you know that would be important to get Ahmed back towards the end of the season because he's been an outstanding player for us as well. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Bendito Mantato. So is set to sign his first professional contract at Manchester United next week. The 17-year-old is held in high regard by the club, and Ruben Amorim keen to hand him his first team debut before the season ends. That came from Academy Scoop. Fabrizio Romano said Jason Wilcox is key to getting the agreement done over a new deal for Bendito Mantato, as well as Amorim, who really trusts the player. Mantato will sign a 4-year deal valid until June 2029. Again, another talented prospect, could potentially be, you know, one of the reasons why we didn't push so far in the end for Chelsea in the Kenda deal, although I do think, you know, the fact they were loaning him back and stuff as well. Very, very talented player, can be in that right kind of wing back position as well. So, you know, that's one to keep an eye on. He was training with the first team yesterday as well, but whether he's going to be involved in the squad or whether it's a bit too early for them to be kind of pushing through now, who knows? But clearly Amorim trusts him and is a player that he likes. New contract. I like it. And I like the kind of, the fact that we might be, you know, potentially giving some more youth a go between now and the end of the season. That's the only way I think, like, treat some of the games like it's a pre-season, obviously depending on what happens with our Europa League form and league position and stuff. But yeah, happy for Mantato. Give us your thoughts on that below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.